Parish Police Jury, Monday, April 7th, 2025. Pledge allegiance. All right, thank y'all, everybody. Mr. Josh Hightower. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, can y'all hear me good?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. Well, remember last year when I was up here, we were in the middle of a big old outbreak of mosquitoes and everything. And all during that time, I was reaching out, trying to get help as best I could and everything. And usually I go to Kyle Mopper, he's the state epidemiologist. And he's like at the state level, he's the #1 guy to go to when you need resources following a hurricane or if they got like a disease epidemic happening or something like that. But last year he couldn't really do much for us because it didn't fall into those categories.
Right.
But he tried real hard. But in his conversation with the Air Force, he did find out something that is of big interest because what he found out is he could apply for a proposed project that could make Cameron Parish part of a training mission for the United States Air Force. And what it would entail would be like, in his proposal, he has Iberia Parish, Vermilion Parish, Calcasieu Parish, and Cameron Parish, all in the proposal. And he picked those parishes because they were the ones most affected by the drought of 2023. And he wants to go ahead and submit this proposal real soon. And what the proposal would entail would be these parishes would become a site for a training mission for the U.S. Air Force for hurricane preparedness. It kind of like simulated a multi-parish hurricane incident, and it would take place hopefully September of 2025. It would entail 500,000 acres total to be split up between the 4 parishes. There would be no cost to any parish except for each parish would have to provide the chemical. And the mosquito board is in support of providing enough chemical for the 125,000 acres. And if possibility of more acreage would come up, then that could be evaluated at that time. My board is in support of at least providing enough chemical to do 125,000 acres if this project would be approved. And Mr. Mofford, he was pretty much ready. Like, we've turned in all the paperwork to him that he needs, like an environmental assessment and a proposal. So it's pretty much ready for him to submit it and see if it can get approved. I'm coming to y'all because for a project like this using the United States Air Force, they're going to want permission from the police jury, not the mosquito control board, to fly their aircraft over Cameron Parish. So I'm coming to y'all before I even apply for this to see if y'all would want to participate in this program. And if y'all would, we're going to need to do a public notice before we can even apply. So we have to run a public notice, and that's what I gave y'all was a copy of the public notice. We have to run that 2 weeks in succession, followed by a 14-day comment period. And then if after that 14-day comment period, we could go ahead and apply and see if this project gets approved. And if the project gets approved, and if it goes real good, it could become an ongoing thing. It could possibly become something that's annual, you know. So
What is the downside to the people, Mr. Josh?
There's really no downside to it at all, because basically, what they're offering us is the chance to cover a lot of acreage. Like our plane can cover 46,000 acres in one night. They're offering to do about 125,000 acres, so that's close to 3 times the amount of coverage. And for the time of year that is projected in this proposal, September, that's historically one of the worst months for our mosquitoes every year. Because due to the high tides and flooding of rice fields, getting ready for hunting and all that stuff, it's usually one of the top months of mosquito activity.
Yes, sir.
Josh, any idea on what type of chemical y'all are gonna spray?
It'd be dibrome, the same chemical that we use. That's pretty much the standard that the Air Force uses throughout any kind of event that they spray for.
And before you do that, you're gonna let the public know, put out a notice on what chemical and?
Yes. Yes. But right now, we just need to run this public notice. It's just letting everybody know that this is a possibility, and to make sure there's no public feedback, negative feedback between the public or contractors and stuff like that.
That chemical they use, does that kill bees?
It can kill bees, yes, sir.
No, we might have some.
If it's same with the chemical we use, it can kill bees if it's sprayed at the wrong time of the day. It can kill bees if it's sprayed at the evening and nighttime. It's not likely to kill bees.
Because it's more of a direct contact?
Right.
What kind of planes are they gonna fly?
The C-130.
Okay, how low?
I'm not exactly sure, but probably around 300 to 400 feet.
Because we're gonna get phone calls, we're being
Right.
attacked.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that we get the word out to the public and they
Right,
know
yeah.
what they're hearing.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Sounds
Well, that
good.
could be included in the public notice, I reckon, though.
But and this public notice will remain just like this. But if it does get approved, there will be a lot of public notice. There would be way more detailed. It would be telling what kind of chemical we're going to use, the time of the day, type of plane, the altitude.
How about crawfish, Josh? How is that chemical? Does it have any
That,
effect on?
that chemical is one of the best. They've done a lot of studies against crawfish, and dibrome and malathion are really the safest for crawfish because they're like an organophosphate. The ones that are most toxic to crawfish are synthetic pyrethroids, a lot of your newer chemicals. Are, more deadly to crawfish.
Yes, sir.
It kills mosquitoes.
Yes, sir.
So is this gonna be an add-on, Mary?
Yes. So Josh, it's gonna be authority for mosquito control to advertise public notice for U.S. Air Force training project.
That's right.
Thank you, Josh.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Kent, who's Kent? Colbert? Come on up, sir.
We did not make the deadline. We're close, but we just have not made the deadline on tearing it down. I don't mean it like this, if it has gone wrong, it's gone wrong. Who expected 10 inches of snow in Big Lake? But hopefully, what I wanna really say by the end of the month, it should be done, but the minute I say that, something else is gonna go wrong.
We understand, Mr. Kent,
Okay.
and all we ask is that we try. We just don't want to see this thing drag out forever.
And
But we do understand the weather. I've been unable to do dirt work in Big Lake at my house because of the wet conditions, so I understand.
And I mean, it ain't for lack of trying. I will say that, but hopefully, I'm gonna tell you for sure it'll be down by the end of May, but I'm hoping to do it the first week or two of May.
Can we put
I think that's right, Mark.
on the agenda for May to kind of revisit?
Mr. Talbot, if you'll just keep in contact with me, just advise me if it's been done or not.
I just,
Yes, we can.
I mean, one thing after another. And some of it, I got a call. I give the fire departments very good credit on this. We had a marsh fire out there. Guess what I ended up doing? Helping them pull their side-by-sides that were stuck in the marsh.
Is Mr. LeBlanc still lined up to help you finish tearing this down?
Yeah. His Bobcat, originally, there's 3 structures, well, 3.5 structures that we're going to be tearing down. I thought we would have 2 of the structures done by now. What happens, his smaller Bobcat goes into shop. We got it back 6 weeks later. We just got it back, it just got to my house yesterday.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Ken. Let's stay on top of it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Jermaine Piku, Thomas Cox.
Good morning, Ms. Jury. How y'all doing today?
Morning, morning.
We're here to represent the Grand Lake Rec District number 5. We're asking to see if y'all would consider the $5 million bond for our rec center. As you know, we don't have any infrastructure in our area, no a real big tax base. So I think the previous jury that Mr. Sonny was a part of actually started a plan to where we were allocating up to $4 million for us to build a new rec facility. And we understand that as of now, y'all don't have the funds to continue. Option that we discussed was if we did a bond and we see where that could actually make things go forward. And the current money set aside for our rec center would pay the bond up until approximately 2029, 2030. So we're just trying to see if that was something that y'all would consider.
5 million,
Yes, sir.
and the additional monies we have for it, right?
Sir?
Without the additional monies we have, or are you saying that'll pay for the,
Yeah,
bond?
using the current $2 million that's set aside in account, that would cover the bond payment for approximately 4 years, which would put us into the 2029, 2030 area.
Have we discussed the operational funds?
That's kind of a loaded question with operational funds because we do not have a budget set. I mean, we have to get approval to, are we building a $5 million facility, we're building a $2 million facility, or where are we at? I mean, in comparison to the other rec facilities, we could pretty much fund a $5 million facility. If we have to go to the public and ask for a tax increase, I think it would be doable. But as far as getting anybody to agree to a tax increase beforehand without seeing what's built or what kind of money is approved for a building, we're not gonna get anything passed and without securement.
I understand. I have no problem with working with a bond. I mean, we'll discuss it, but I have no problem working with it because it's for the children and we want to make sure the children have what they need. But at the same time, we should be careful what we build that we can maintain and operate it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, like I said, right now Grand Lake's probably pushing, 1,000 kids? I mean, we're pushing, 700 plus in the school? You know, there's another 300 from 0 to 5. So, I mean, we're pushing 1,000 kids in Grand Lake and there's no community center for them, no recreation center. And, I mean, we don't have anything to gain from it. We're just here for the community. And we're just asking for y'all's help.
so that you saying the current millage, operating millage will cover expenses of a $5 million facility?
I'm not sure if it would cover all of it, but I think once we get an agreement on what we can build and see what the actual cost will be, I mean, we have to have secured funding before we can go to the public and ask for any kind of a tax increase.
Yeah, and I think
Mr. Tremaine, Mr. Thomas, I've been questioned, and I don't know if y'all have done it. If you had somebody just look at the facility to see if it could be repaired. Simple yes or no?
Yes, we've had people look at it, definitely, but FEMA has considered it condemned, totaled, if I'm not mistaken, more than 50%.
Yes.
So why are we not tearing it down?
Well, you can't tear it down without FEMA's approval, for number one.
Well, if they deemed it over 50%, shouldn't you be able to tear it down?
It's still going through the approval process, so technically no, it hasn't been approved all the way through obligation. So you're jeopardizing funding and reimbursement if you do anything prior to that obligation.
So if it's deemed a hazard or something, will FEMA work with you like that? If you're saying that we can't repair it, more than 50%,
I think that we're talking about two different things. So there's something called like a substantial damage assessment, which means if it's more than 50%, you can't rebuild it.
okay?
We are not talking about that. This particular project isn't in a flood zone, so it's irrelevant if it's substantially damaged or not. What we're talking about is that we submitted it saying that the repair versus replacement was more than 50%, which means it's so outdated to bring it up to current code, it will cost more to bring it up to code than it would to just be to build a new one. And that particular type of obligation you cannot touch until you get full approval. And it is going through EHP, like an environmental review right now. So that's where, that's the phase that it's in.
Which is
Okay.
pretty much the final stage, correct?
Yes,
So 6 months, 2 months, nobody knows, it's unknown.
it's unknown.
You're on FEMA's schedule.
Yeah.
So really, we don't need to discuss this till FEMA comes up with a good answer for us. You
No,
don't,
I still, Mr. Meyer, I still think we need a plan moving forward. They have presented a pretty good plan, something that I've thought about for the last year and a half here. And I can think as much as I want and come up with a couple solutions myself. But I'm telling you, this is really important to the community. And, there's been a lot of support behind these guys, and I think they have a pretty good idea. So if we can come up with something, put our heads together and help these guys out, I think we can come up with something pretty good. Of course, I wanna make sure we can afford it,
yes, sir.
but, I really think that this is very important to the community, and we need to step on the gas.
So will part of this bond money be to tear the then you forget about the FEMA funds, correct, if we do the bond?
No, sir, it would be an addition. We figure between the 5 million that we can get from y'all's support, plus the 2 million by the time it goes through the bond committee, by the time it's all approved and we get all of our site work and all of our numbers back, hopefully we would hear something back from FEMA, which would give us the other $2 million to do the whole project. Our goal is to do the complete project, and we know we're falling short, and that's why we're coming to y'all for help with it. So no, we definitely need the $2 million from FEMA.
So we can't get started regardless.
Well,
I mean,
yes,
if-
there would be a start, because number one, if you do secure the funding, you can still do it in phases, to where if FEMA comes in and says, no, we're not allocating $2 million to y'all, we have the $5 million to get started with site plans, with drawings, we have our budget.
Now, I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
You came up with a dollar
Yes, sir.
number. Did you have plans that support that $5 million number, or that just pulling that out there?
No, sir. We actually went to an architect, had drawn up, went through our little town hall meeting, and we reached out to a couple contractors for some ballpark numbers, and it came back at 4.5 to 5.5. And that's just ballpark square footage, rough estimates.
How's the community support being? Pretty good?
Yes, sir. I mean, we did a little Facebook post, and it was, as y'all all seen, it was 70-30, roughly.
Good.
You know, we also have to realize that, this may sound like a lot, but this one rec center is serving 3 different districts in a very large community.
Exactly.
So, I think maybe selling ourselves short wouldn't be the best game plan. I think we need to, stick with our guns and see how this goes. I'd like to see this.
So do we have y'all support moving forward? 'Cause number one is we have to go to the bond commission to get
So-
all the,
Is this something we have to, add on the agenda to vote on? Okay.
We will engage the bond attorney, and we'll get a plan together to present to y'all, but we didn't wanna start that without y'all knowing
Yeah,
your support.
y'all didn't know which direction.
So let's talk about, is the gym still the hot topic? That was the high dollar item there
yes, sir. I mean, that,
first.
yes, I mean, the major, as far as the construction phase, I mean, that would be a priority. We will have a swimming pool. I mean, one way or the other, the swimming pool will be open once we get the okay to move forward.
That's a couple questions I was asked about the gym. Why don't they do a room for the kids to play and aerobics? And y'all were talking that might not be in that gym, the last meeting we went to. You know,
We don't have any concrete plans just yet. We just have a high-level plan and a cost, estimated cost.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to have something to accommodate all. I mean, we've been brought up as far as like a wrestling area, your aerobic area, your spin classes, your exercise room. I mean, there's gonna be options there. We're
Yeah.
not just focused on just a basketball court with just a basketball game and that's all we're accommodating.
Well, from the public, the ones that I've talked to, it seemed like y'all were more focused on the basketball gym than somewhere for the kids to play, work out, aerobics room. Now, whether that is, but that's what I've kinda heard.
No, sir, in the plans, we had a new gymnasium in there. We've had the rec room inside of it with the weights, and we had multiple items on the inside of our previous drawings, which is still gonna be changed.
Mhm.
But it's gonna be there to accommodate multiple different activities in our parish.
Okay, I mean, I'm good with that, as long as we end up with somewhere for the kids to play,
That's our goal.
aerobics room and workout, that's what I've been hearing. They kinda eased off the swimming pool a little bit, but that's what they was wanting, somewhere for the kids to go, you know, and the ladies to work out, and, I mean, the ladies to do aerobics and the guys to work out or whatever.
Right. Yes, sir.
I
That's
do
our
have
goal.
one last question. I always have one last question.
Go ahead.
Last question would be, would we go out for bond before we run a tax? Because if we don't make the tax and we don't have the money to operate, there's no whole lot of sense to go cancel a bond and probably been a bunch of expenditures involved. So if we get that commitment, we have no problem supporting it, am I correct? I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the original plan was to fund the bond out of the general fund. It's kind of where the original plan from the beginning was, for the securement on the bond. But as far as the operational maintenance cost of it, I mean, yes, if we have to run a tax, I mean, I'm sure our local community will get behind it to support that for the children.
Listen, I'm good with it, guys. If we move forward, we just gotta figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, any way we can get more numbers, Jermaine, up front.
Oh, we gotta have the big number first. We gotta have our budget first before we can move forward.
Let me interject
Yes,
a
sir.
few things. So I think we could coordinate as best we can on that bond maintenance tax issue, and do our best. Matt Kern is the bond attorney that we're using it these days in lieu of Jay Delafield. Jay used to do that all for us, but Matt Kern just did the one for the school board. They got him the $40 million line of credit, so forth and so on. But give y'all a little insight in what to expect in the future and some thoughts to consider. You're not deciding these things today. Also, the school board has a report that's coming out probably next week at their meeting that Dr. Dan Groff and McNeese has prepared for them that shows their future expected revenues over the next 10 or 15, 20 years, what their expenses and what they want to build up in reserves, and at what point they can start rolling back millages. And it's a great report, has a lot of information, will be made public probably next week at their meeting. It'll give you some insight, and maybe hopefully I'll encourage you to also engage with Mr. Groff to do the same for you, but that's another day. What Mr. Groff has provided, Dr. Groff has provided to us, and I took a picture of it and I've kept it. So for instance, in 2023, one millage parish-wide, so 1 mill parish-wide, collected you about $500,000 in tax revenues. okay? In 2030, that 1 mil will collect you 2.5 million, parish-wide. That 2.5 is just off the 2 LNG plants. So that's the Hackberry, and so 2.5 million on 1 parish-wide millage. And then you have to factor in all your other assessed properties, which will be, but that's just from the 2 plants. In 31, it'll be 2.7, so forth and so on. And also that does not include Commonwealth and CP2. Remember, Commonwealth and CP2 are on the 80-20 rule. They don't get 100%. When they start operating, the first year of operations, or maybe the year 2, whatever, but you'll get 20% of their value. That's not included in this. So that, if they both go forward, you're looking at 2029 operations, whatever that value is, add to that 2.5, again, 1 millage. My point is that you're gonna have the potential of significant tax revenues to accommodate things that, that I will hope you'll be considering, and that's why I'd like Dr. Groff to work with y'all in what those plans are to justify the industry and to Baton Rouge why we need these revenues, why we're not rolling back our millages in some instances. So that's the dollars that you're talking about potentially coming into the parish. And I say 2030, 2028, I think Cheniere and Cameron LNG were built in stages and came into production at different, so it's really 28, 29, and 30. So 30, both plants will be 100% on your tax rolls. And that's just why I use that year. One thing to think about is, okay, well, all that money, how's Grand Lake get it? Because Grand Lake is not, those plants are not in Grand Lake, Sweet Lake, Lowry's district. You have a health unit tax and a courthouse jail tax. The 2 combined are less than 4 meals. Okay, so let's just say they're 4 for the sake of conversation. If you put a vote to and they're parish-wide taxes, but they're only used for specific purposes. You have to use it for the purpose, which is right here in this community. If you put a tax proposition, say to the entire parish-wide, in lieu of, are we gonna repurpose these taxes? Again, let's just say they're a total of 4 million. You're gonna eliminate the health unit, courthouse square jail tax, and change the purpose of it. Not gonna eliminate the tax. You're just gonna change the purpose to parish-wide buildings, let's say, and whatever else you want to describe as the repurposing. Then all of a sudden you've got four mills parish-wide that you're able to collect based on these numbers. That'll generate $10 million a year in 2030, just off the plants. Then you can use it parish-wide. Again, that's not the only answer, the only thing, but it is something to consider in your planning, is how do we equitably and fairly distribute these tax dollars throughout the parish where the plants aren't. It doesn't take away from the taxing districts that are there. The Hackberry Rec, the Johnson by Water still collect their tax. It's just that you're converting your approximately 4 mills that I described to a parish-wide purpose, that then you can use that money for a Lowry fire truck. Look, we were there last Thursday feeding the seniors and the folks there and Klondike Community Center. They need a new fire station. I mean, that building is falling apart, not to mention their truck. But if you if in your tax proposition, if you say we're going to use it for parish-wide needs, whatever those needs are, and again, we can describe what those needs are, and in lieu of paying 4 mills for the health unit and courthouse square, we're going to use it parish-wide. I mean, just you'll have plenty of money to do that. So that just gives you some things to think about, and we can talk more. I didn't plan on giving that speech today, but the opportunity arose to give y'all some insights and thoughts, and I'll get y'all that school board report when it comes out next week.
Thank you for that. Mr. Scott was shaking his head back there, so
Yeah, that's fine.
in agreement.
Thank you.
Any more questions for us, or
No more.
no more?
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all.
Thank
for what
y'all.
y'all do.
I think it's something, we'll for sure consider this, and, we, again, you know, we kinda short some numbers, but so are y'all, so.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, any more green cards?
President,
Yes, sir.
I want to get clear on this. Are we adding this on, gonna vote on this to do, work with the bond, or are we not gonna do that? I mean, they need to know so they can go forward. And, that's not saying we're committed to the bond today, but it says we are committed in the future at some point in time. Is that what y'all wanna do?
What I'd like to see.
Definitely, we need a rec for the
That's
children.
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So,
Keep pushing it off, we won't ever have one, but my point being is, where do we go from here? We wanna add it on, we need to do it now.
I think you, until the bond commission approves it, even once they approve it, you can always back out of it.
Right.
But I think the rec district is looking for a
A
verbal,
commitment.
or
They
just a
want a
commitment. It's not saying we're not signing the papers today, but we're committed to them, you doing this, they bringing you a budget to support, and if they can support the $5 million facility or whatever it's gonna cost, and move it forward. I think is all they're looking for. It's not, you're not obligated to pay the $5 million. You're just committing to do it if they can,
If-
maintenance.
If they can maintain.
Jermaine, can you come back up, please?
Yes, sir.
How did that thing read? Did they have to pass the tax before the old jury would allow them to?
Yeah, I mean, we can change that.
What was it? Is that right, Miss Mary? Okay, so we can change that?
So you wanna build a $5 million facility or a $7 million facility?
Our ultimate goal is to have $5 million from the parish and $2 million from FEMA.
That's a
which
$7
would give
million
us $7 million to have us a great rec for our area.
Do you know what the ballpark, price was on the drawings you had there that y'all been advertising?
Yes, they were between 4.5 and 5.5.
Close to that.
So wouldn't we wanna stick with that?
Not now.
What you mean?
It's 4.5 to 5.5,
Correct.
not 7.
No, we're asking for 5 from the jury. And that's kind of based off of the previous jury, which our goal was to allocate $4 million for our rec center, along with the potential of whatever we receive from FEMA, which would have gave us potentially 6. Now we're 5 years into this, and we know the price of construction has gone up, and unfortunately, it's the world we live in. So that's where the extra million is coming in, is say $5 million from the jury and the $2 million from whatever FEMA approves us for. I mean, in the writing, but we don't have it. We don't know if they're gonna give us $2 million, they're gonna give us 1 or 1.5 or whatever it could be. And
What is the norm there, Katie? Will they, or, I mean, what's your,
I mean, what's the reason for taking out the 2 from FEMA? I guess would be my biggest question.
no, and my deal was, the drawings we seen was, this is what you said, 4.5 to 5.5,
Correct.
and now maybe potentially a $7 million facility.
Oh, the extra.
Are we putting more, or is it the same facility?
No, it's the same facility as where we're headed towards.
Just you thinking increased costs?
The increased cost is from the previous 4 that was started out as far as being allocated. Now we're looking at roughly 5 for the building. And like I said, we do have a little bit of money put aside to where if we do run into a situation to where it goes over our budget, we will have potentially FEMA's money to cover the overage in the budget, to where we don't have to come back and ask for more to complete our project.
Right.
And if we do come out to where we're under our budget on our project, we can utilize the money from FEMA to extend out to a new pool or to the walking track or tennis courts or pickleball courts or whatever else we can to extend playgrounds for our children.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Sonny, we need to add it.
Add it on.
So it's gonna be like a letter of support?
Yep.
Yes. more green cards? Okay, condemnation hearing. So, Miss Robin,
I know,
these,
I can tell you the 143 Joe Rutherford Road was demoed on Friday by the resident. And, I think, Mr. Peter Dalen is on his way.
okay, which one is that, Little Chenier? Or,
I know he started the process, but, I have not seen any activity. That is the 1371.
okay, is he, these folks just getting their letter 30 days ago?
Yes.
And what about, 1413? You know where the,
I have not heard anything from that property owner. He did receive his, certified letter.
okay. Also 30 days ago?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Agnes? Andy?
So
Questions?
if Mr. Dalen,
You wanna-
he shows up, can he,
You wanna just move on past this one for the time being, and then open it back up when the man shows up?
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
And we got, we'll go over D.
So, Mary, remove item A from the agenda, please. Since it's already been
Nope.
demolished.
Discussion of, prisoner health care.
Okay, so prisoner healthcare, I put the statute up on the screen, but I'll just kind of read it for the public. It states that the governing authority has to appoint a physician annually who shall attend to the prisoners who are confined in parish jails whenever they are sick. It also states that in lieu of appointing a physician, the governing authority of any parish may enter into a contract with a healthcare provider. So this is something that you as a jury need to do. We haven't done it so far. I think we do have, if you have a physician in mind, you can appoint them. Or we also do have South Carolina Memorial Hospital who has been providing services. I think it's been going pretty well. You can give us permission to enter into some sort of agreement with them to continue to provide services to our prisoners. This does come out of your general fund.
What was done in the past?
Except they use South Cameron Memorial Hospital.
Yeah, I wouldn't see us changing that.
So they using the mobile bus now?
Is it on the agenda?
Yes, sir. This is a voting item. It is agenda item 27.
Anything we can do to help them out also, Any questions?
No, sir.
ITEP, discussion ITEP guidelines.
Again, another one of those fun state requirements. This is the new ITEP policy implemented by the state. The governor decided to change the process Historically, it was any ITEP applications went directly to LED, which is the Louisiana Economic Development Department. They decided on the local government's behalf whether or not we were going to exempt or abate taxes for a 10-year period. If you fast forward to when Governor Edwards was in office, he changed that process. He said he gave all of the authority to the local government. The local government, the sheriff, and the school board were allowed to decide if they wanted to abate 80% of the taxes and collect 20%. And so now with the new governor, Landry, he's decided to make a few changes. And so it is up to the governing authority on how you want to process it. If you want to give all the authority back to LED, they can make the decision on your behalf. If you want to make the full decision, you can, or you can appoint a committee to meet and decide. It would encompass of, a police juror, a school board member, and then the sheriff. And then if you wanted to add any sort of non-voting members to help provide some information for you guys, some resources, you could add your tax assessor, you could add your port director. And so, but the only voting members are going to be the police jury, the sheriff, and the school board member.
Just remember one thing, that 20% that's at commissioning, that's not during construction, that may be
That's correct.
5 years down the road. So it doesn't mean that you're gonna have 20% coming in today. It's one of the reasons that we need to discuss at some point in time, a sales tax. Because we have let a lot of money slide through this parish, and we have been crippled, not being able to blacktop road, not being able to do anything. So I'm just
Fix
gonna
bridges.
encourage us down the road soon to have discussions on a possibility of a sales tax.
Mr. Scott,
Yes, sir.
I know me and you talked a little about this, and
Yes, we surely did. The school board has, so it's gonna be Charlie Lemons, it'll be Chris Savoy. They both are in agreement that they would entertain myself being the tax assessor and Kim Monte, she's economic development, to be on it. Our main thing is, we really need this committee because we want to be able to have a say-so. So y'all would appoint somebody. I would recommend one of your staff members. That way they can come back to you whenever we have things that happen, that go on the state level, and they could say, hey guys, how do y'all want me, let's say it's Katie, how do y'all want Katie to vote on what's about to happen? I won't vote and Kim won't vote. All we're there is to advise or give our 2 cents to, on where we stand with things as a governing body. And of course, you'll need Tom. Of course, he'll be our legal, he would be our legal representation on the state level also. And so I truly hope that y'all want this, because we truly need it, because there's a lot of changes. We have already been to LED, to all the meetings they were having, all these changes that the governor is doing. We've been to every one, at least one of us has been to every one of the meetings, and we got back with each other. Katie's been involved without having an official committee. Just take it into consideration, guys. It's a great thing for us. Big changes with this new governor. Whenever we get some definite changes that he's actually put it on paper and signed it, we'll come back to you and say, hey, this is where we're at. He wants to get away. He wants there not be any more. So let's say to be a mega project, they would get a 93% reduction. You'd only get 7% come on the roll. That was through Edwards. Now he's saying, no, anything can be a mega project. Well, we want to be able to argue that and say, hey, even though these projects are $1 billion projects, they have 3 right now already since Trump's got in office that are here in Louisiana. There's Meta. I don't know how many billions of dollars it is up in North Louisiana. They have an iron plant that's coming to Louisiana. That's billions of dollars. So, you know, we got a lot of changes going on. And so I'd really appreciate it if y'all consider it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all guys.
So,
This,
we definitely want a vote.
yes, this is on the voting agenda. It is time sensitive. It is agenda item 25.
And you keep mentioning Joror. Can we in fact appoint someone?
You can appoint anyone. It can be one of your fellow jurors. It can be a staff member. It can be anyone that's going to vote on your behalf.
Okay. Unless one of y'all guys is interested, my recommendation would be Katie, Kim, Mary, and I don't know even if Kim could we appoint or not, but since she's already part of the port board. But my recommendation would be you. I mean,
Yes, sir. Happy to do it for you guys. Typically, these are very time sensitive. You don't have but a short amount of time to meet and vote and make a decision and get it back to LAD. If you don't submit your vote by then, if you have a committee, then they make the decision for you. That they assume that no comment means that you're supportive. So it's very time sensitive. So it could require a lot of time of one of you. So it's good for you guys to appoint a staff member that can be available at any time.
thank you. All right, multi-purpose building.
Well, that's me again. Sorry, I'm gonna be tired. So Cameron multi-purpose building. This has, just to provide some historical context, this was a building that prior to Hurricane Rita was owned and operated by the Cameron Rec District. After Hurricane Rita, the Rec District decided that they did not want to rebuild it, but the jury at the time decided that they would like to take over the PW and build it, make it available for the community. So we utilized FEMA funds and rebuilt this rec center. It's been under the ownership of the police jury for the last, few years. We have from time to time rented it out for short stints. We have a rental, a little rental policy that was approved by the prior jury and the DA's office that set the rates. And so it's been rented a few times over the last few years. But now with the new industry that's coming, CP2 and Commonwealth, we've been approached a few times from some contractors who want to rent it as office space for long term. And when I say long term, 2, 3, 4 years. Right now, we do not have anything in our framework that would allow for the staff to negotiate or rent that out on your behalf. So that's why we're bringing this to you. We want to see, what your appetite is for renting out public buildings to the private sector for office space, or is it something that you would just like to continue to keep separate? And if we have any vacant space moving forward, do we just keep ownership of it, or would you like us to bring it to you for negotiations? Now, this is something that has to be advertised. Public bid law applies. We can't just go set a rate and do it without the public's approval. But I think now's the time. I think we need to know, the staff needs to know from the jury once and for all, what's your interest in renting vacant space to the private sector? Or do you want to continue to just keep the multipurpose building available for the community use only?
I know it doesn't get much use, but it is in Mr. Sonny's area, and I don't know what
What alternative, if we need a meeting space, would we use?
In Cameron,
Yeah.
we typically have most of our meetings here. The library, when it reopens, could be available. I do think that the Creole Fire Station is being rebuilt. They're going to be repurposing that for space, but really, every community typically has a building to use, and the community of Cameron did use the multipurpose building. There is a church that rents it every Sunday They have service every Sunday, and we've had, Fur Festival has rented it for use, the Fish and Rodeo has rented it for some of their pageants. I think a Christmas party, someone rented it for a Christmas party in December. So it has been used. It's not rented all the time, but it is being utilized.
We need to have an alternative, to use at those times, or at least a place available.
If it's just for the community I mean, you really only have this meeting room, or Cameron Rec, or the library. I don't know. The library doesn't typically rent their space out for residents, but that's something that they could consider.
Maybe we should contact the library and see if they'd be interested in, alternative use at times. And if that'll fit the bill, I know it's on the, just another expense that it's costing us for the building. And it'd be nice to have it rented out, but at the same time, it's a public building, it's for the public. We need to make sure that we cover the public uses. If we can't cover the public uses, I wouldn't be for it. But if we can cover the public uses, I mean, I could see where we could probably think about it.
And
You have some interest?
we were approached by one company, and we did have it rented out on a temporary basis to a company, but they made it available to the community upon request. So they were using it for some training, but it didn't interfere with the public use on the weekends. These companies that are reaching out to us, they're gonna put it on lockdown. It will be 100% office space. They will not allow it to be used by the community. And, you know, Cameron Multipurpose Building is just the first building. That's why I kind of want to talk to you guys that we have empty office space here. We have lots of, we have some empty offices when the library moves out, moves in. Is that something you guys want to look at? Or is this something that you just want to continue to keep public and private sector separate?
Well, it's sort of like the Fur Festival. I mean, if we use the Cameron Rec, then we'd have to add the Fur Festival to Cameron Rec. I mean, you need a building there, not 20 miles away. So, we had some questions. I got some questions before I'd be 100% for it, but I'm entertaining the idea. But as long as we can cover the public's use, I'll say that again. As long as the public is not left out, because it's their building, not our building, it's theirs. We'll make sure that they're covered.
Correct. So this is not a voting item. This is just something that I wanted to bring to your attention. Like I said, we have a lot of offices around here that could be rented out for use if we are approached by it. Do you want the staff to entertain it, negotiate, or is it a hard no matter what space it is? That's just something we need some
If
advice.
you're asking to make a policy to where we can utilize some spaces, I'm good with that. We can make a policy. But for this one here, we would have to take each one at a time, but we can make an ordinance or whatever that allows that. And we can go ahead and do that. And on a case-by-case basis. Doesn't matter which building it is throughout the parish.
Yeah, you don't need an ordinance. It'll definitely come to you guys, and you'll have to vote on a case-by-case basis. This is the first one that we've been approached by, and I think there's more to come in the coming months.
But we'd have to check the legalities out too, wouldn't we, on what we're doing with tax dollars? Those buildings were paid for with tax dollars.
Well, sometimes, yes, if it is a building that the use of it, taxes collected for like the road and bridge, you can only use it for road and bridge operations, but for the Cameron Multipurpose Building and the West Annex, it is funded through general fund dollars, so it's unrestricted. So it would be an eligible activity.
It was built by the Recreation Center, correct?
No, it was built 15 years ago with FEMA funds. That PW has been closed, so technically you can do anything with the building. You could tear it down, you could sell it, you can rent it. It doesn't matter anymore.
Okay. Tom, is there any questions legally on this?
No, you're on point. It's more of a public relations question. And if you're not utilizing the building for the public, and it's better served generating revenue, because you're paying for utilities, insurance, then it's just a policy decision. And again, case by case.
And Kayla did run the numbers for you guys for 3 years. last year for 2024, you took a $78,000 loss owning the building for paying insurance and utilities versus what you collected. 23, it was 70,000. 22, it was just shy of 50,000.
But correct me if I'm wrong, if you did that same study on each building, this building, for example,
Yes.
I mean, as a loss.
Well, that's the nature of the public sector. You're not in it to make money. You're in it to serve the public.
Good. Chairman Fisheries. Katie?
Yep, so one of those, same topics, we have ownership of the Cameron Fisheries building. There was a contractor who was interested in leasing the building from the parish. And so we just need your permission to start those negotiations and start advertising those lease. This isn't something, I think I wasn't participating in this particular discussion. Your DA was facilitating the meeting with your subcommittee, so anyone that participated in the subcommittee, if you want to talk about your meeting, or if you want me to get Mr. Tom to come and give you an update.
So Kayla was present, myself, Sonny, and Johnny, as the committee, met with, Chris McCall, who's local, as local can get, and family legacy, and he wants to lease that building. He is working with your staff to get into are the utilities not turned on?
They're turned on.
They're turned on?
Yes, sir.
There you are. Oh, yeah. Now there, yeah. So he wants, he's gonna put together, hopefully for your next meeting, he'll come and make a presentation to you of what he plans to do, his investment in that property, what he's gotta do to get it running, what he's gonna do for some infrastructure to change a few things, to accommodate what he wants to use it for. I think he can best provide you all of his foresight. I'll say generally that it's very promising for the community, for the seafood industry, and you're paying about, back to that, it's costing you 70,000. Oh, here we go. $118,000. This is just for that past 12 months. Yeah, so it's flood and property is $100,000 a year in in insurance. To start thinking about it, historically, the port was handling the lease before. Port says they don't want the building anymore. It's your building now. The Henry Group families own the real estate. Mr. Newt Henry said, hey, he'll work with us, whatever we need to get that building occupied and operational. Historically, the port was paying about $20,000 a year to the Henry Group in rent, and in turn, I think the operator maybe only had to pay the insurance and the utilities, maintain it and pay the insurance. So we're gonna have to negotiate with Mr. McCall and move forward, and we'll bring some thoughts and ideas to you, but I wanted him to present to you next month, hopefully, his initial investment, so that then you can give us some guidance on what you would expect. But it's very promising, so just wanted to let y'all know.
So I think the one question I had you answered was Mr. Newt, and our contract is okay with that, right?
Yeah, I've spoken to him directly. I told him about Chris, and again, he said, Tom, whatever, he can do to make it work, yes. I expect that he doesn't even want any rent. They just want it occupied, they want it operational. But yes, they are part of this equation. They're the property owner, you own the building, and then we're gonna get a tenant. So all three, will have to, sign off on it.
Mr. Johnny, you wanna say something?
Yeah, during the meeting, from what they're telling me, of course, it's, the initial, suggestions that they wanna do in there, and I really look forward to what they have in the future. Anything that we can do to move fisheries forward, is a plus for the community. And like I said, we've lost money in it. We've tried, salvaging it through just the ice machines, which we knew were not gonna be profitable. But at the same time, we needed to make an effort to try and move, forward with it. And like I said, I think this is really, is gonna be a profitable venture for the parish as well as the community.
Mr. President, just to alleviate everybody's fears, it's almost like sliced bread, best thing since sliced bread, because they're gonna provide ice to the shrimpers if they want it. They're gonna buy crabs, they're gonna buy oysters, they're gonna buy shrimp if the shrimpers wanna sell to them. So everybody's needs are gonna be met, plus they're gonna do seed oystering, and we'll let him talk more about that, but on the spot. A local guy, a guy that if things go bad, he catches the heat just like we do, it couldn't get any better. I mean, if I went out there and tried to dream up a solution to a problem, couldn't have dreamed up one better.
Yeah, no, he's already called me.
Yeah,
Anyway,
to hear some.
it's very promising, and like I said, I'd like him to be able to present to you next month. He just needed to get it, he's already gone there with his contractors, to get some idea. He knew the utilities turned on, they're gonna get back in there to test some things, so by your May meeting, he'll come in here, and I've suggested he'll come to you and say, hey, I'm gonna, here's my plan, A, B, and C, and D, here's what it's gonna cost to get each of those fixed, here's our plan, this is my investment. I'd like to, lease the building from you, and then we'll talk about the, then we'll, negotiate the terms.
Utilities should be on, correct?
They are now, as I understand.
No, they were on.
They were
I just found
actually,
out they got cut off.
Oh.
cut off, but all we need is me to send them a letter and they're cutting right back on.
Yeah, they're on, I can let him know.
No, they-
We can get them put on.
Yeah,
We'll get them put back
it
on.
just happened in the last week. They were actually cut
Yeah,
off with the
when I went
Fur
over there-
Festival.
He's got your number,
Yes, he does.
so I'll just tell him to call you and coordinate. Say,
Wait, there's no mechanical
me out of it.
issues keeping that off, huh?
No, they just cut them off. As I said, that's why I answered yes earlier, because they got cut off within the past week.
Yeah, it was last week.
They were on when I went over there and looked at everything.
Yeah, and as a note, the committee urges us to go forward with this.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And Mr. President, just so everyone's aware that wasn't a part of the subcommittee, I had delegated this because there's a potential conflict of interest and ethics conflict on my behalf. My husband owns Lazy K Restaurant, and they have a working relationship, Lazy K and Chris McCall, with the oysters, that there's a potential partnership. And my dad is a commercial fisherman and has been my entire life. So either way, I just am going to bow out and let Mr. Tom handle all negotiations. So any questions and everything, I'm not trying to be rude, but please don't call me or ask me anything. If you need anything, call Tom or call Kayla. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's understandable. Appreciate it.
Mr. President, I think Mr. Dalen's here.
How y'all doing?
Mr. Dale?
How you doing?
This is, 1371 Ocean View.
Like I told you, I had to go to physical therapy and then I had surgery, and
What are your plans?
I was gonna get on it before the, spring, for this spring. Get on the ACE as soon as possible.
So you're requesting just an extension?
Yes, 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 please.
Okay.
So,
60 days?
yes, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Good?
60 days?
60 days good?
What's the address, Ms. Ryder?
1371.
Just the first 6 years.
Yeah, I guess that would do it. I don't have any questions. Anybody have questions?
No.
What, 60 days?
60 days.
60 days? Yes, sir?
Sounds
Yes.
good. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Daly.
Hey, one question before we close this portion.
Go ahead, Sonny.
What about the other two? Are they just gonna go ahead and move forward? Okay.
They know.
So just to clarify, I can move forward
Yeah.
going out for bids for the others.
I think they all need extensions.
Yep, I second it.
Okay. And how long?
Have we got a response from the other two?
No.
Some of it's,
No, I have not gotten a response at all from the 1413. I can reach back out to him by phone and see what he says and let,
We can give them, like you said, all 60-day extension.
60?
But tell them we're gonna be after them again in 60 days.
okay.
What?
Same thing for the 243.
I would just maybe suggest that you approve with, you could suspend for 60 days. So we
Okay.
just don't have to bring it back to you.
Okay.
If the property owner wants to come back in 60 days and ask for it, but so that Robin doesn't have to do anything, just you approve the condemnation, but suspend it for 60 days.
Okay.
Okay, just make sure we word that right.
It's technical, but that way we don't have to bring it back up.
That's item 29.
Okay. All right, we to the review yet?
agenda.
Yeah, I wanna, do an add-on, if I can.
Okay,
I wanna do an add-on for a speed limit change on, Berwick Road and Middle Ridge Road in Johnson Bayou area. Yeah, down to 25 miles an hour.
to advertise.
Yeah, and that's already a low-speed area, but it allows for the RVs to access that from the schoolhouse to the recreation center, which is about half a mile, quarter mile, whatever it is. So anyway, I wanna advertise that, and see, we'll vote on it next meeting.
And on the, recreation, Great Lake Recreation.
So far I have removed 29A from the agenda because it was demoed. I have an authority to advertise speed limit change on Parish Road 536, Middle Ridge, and Parish Road 538, Berwick Road, and Johnson Bayou from 45 to 25. Authority for the mosquito control to advertise public notice for the U.S. Air Force training project, and letter of support for the Grand Lake grant to pursue the $5 million model.
Mr. President, going over the permits, we need to remove, agenda item 6A, Boardwalk Petrochemical Pipeline. All of this activity resides in Calcasieu Parish and not in Cameron. And I did, communicate with the agent, and they agreed with me as well, so please remove that agenda item.
Got that, Mary?
Got it, remove 6A.
Thank you, Karen. Any other questions?
14, Gary, is that the stuff we were going over last week? Meeting, the different meetings we were having?
Yeah, this is the QIPRA PPL 35 projects. The agencies, stakeholders, landowners, they can nominate projects through the Mermentau Basin and Cal Sabine Basin. So this year, from the coastwide votes, the nominated projects, we have one in the Mermentau Basin and 2 in the Cal Sabine Basin. The one in the Mermentau Basin, is an additional shoreline protection of 2 miles at Rockefeller Refuge. It's called the Gulf Shoreline Protection West. So that made it through the nomination. And also 2 in Calcasieu Sabine. One is the Peconi Bayou Marsh Creation Project that will create and nourish 318 acres of brackish and marsh along the Calcasieu Lake rim. using material dredge from Peconi Bayou to create intertidal habitat and provide resiliency to the Calcasieu Lake rim and the Cameron Creo watershed. And the second project that made it through was West Cove South Marsh Creation Project. Will create and nourish approximately 724 acres of marsh using sediment dredge from the Calcasieu Ship Channel, which will restore degraded marsh and solidify the southern lake rim. So out of these projects, the next round of the candidate projects that will be selected, they will select 10 projects at the technical committee meeting, which will be held April 10th at 9:30 this week. So we will submit this resolution to support all these projects to move forward for phase 1. I did see Mr. Chad Corbill here. Would you like to talk on behalf of the Peconi? No? Okay.
Carrie, is any of these in the refuge?
The Peconi Bayou is Miami Alternatives and Sweet Lake Land and All, which is north of the refuge.
One other question, 31. What is that, Kate?
31 is with the implementation of our electronic timekeeping system, it has raised some issues on how we've been processing payroll by hand for the last, 50 years. It's specific to comp time and sick leave use in the same time period. And so we asked for an opinion from Mr. Tom, and he has since recommended that we hire special counsel who has an expertise in employment law.
So David Morgan, who's with Stockwell Sievert Law Firm in Lake Charles, David also happens to be the city attorney in Lake Charles. Spoke to him about this issue, and he said, and he did something similar for Beauregard Parish, where they redid their whole personnel policy, but it started with the compensation issue. And his text to me was, in essence, and we talked, and he also texted me, but that comp time is not available to public employees except for emergency first responder, on what the technical name was, but the rank and file are not entitled to comp time. Well, we've been providing comp time for 20 years or 30. I mean, so
It's 1997.
that's what got the conversation started, among other questions about our payroll system and policy. And then we thought, he suggested he could do our whole personnel policy. And what he told me the expected cost was, what Beauregard paid was a couple $1,000. Now ours may be more involved, cause some of our policies in ordinance, some of it's not in ordinance. So it may be more to it, but it's not a lot of money. And it is a particular area or field of legal expertise that he has. So I would recommend you hiring Stockwell Sievert Law Firm, but he and his partner an associate would focus on providing us an updated on the payroll question and just some clean up our personnel, our policy.
Okay.
So,
Where I worked at before, it was always salary and hourly. It separated the two from comp time or overtime.
and I don't know that, but he does, and that's why I'll suggest we hire him to clean all that up. And again, he's gonna come with recommendations, suggestions, and then y'all decide what it looks like, but he'll clean that up for us.
Okay.
And they'll answer some of those questions.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, I have a question about number 17, consideration of installing GPS trackers on parish vehicles. Why did that come about? Is that an insurance?
No.
An insurance thing?
No, sir. Well, it could be, but I think Katie said it wouldn't make much difference, in your, email.
I did ask when Mr. President added it to the agenda, I did ask to see if there was a benefit. They said that it really wouldn't be a benefit, but I'm not really, I'm not really aware of exactly what you're trying to accomplish with it. If it is for
It was something we
saving,
talked about since we've been in, and, just something to get off the list. If we don't want it, no problem. If we want it, good. Get it off the list.
What would be the benefits to have them?
Any benefits from you, Katie, as the administrator?
I mean, I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, I don't think it's really gonna save us any money. I don't think it's really gonna, benefit or reduce our insurance premium. I did ask our insurance agent to confirm that. It's typically, I think maybe the only benefit that you could see is if you invested in the cameras, then it would record accidents. So if you were trying to avoid litigation, if one of our employees was involved in an accident and it went to court, you would have some camera surveillance of exactly what happened to show who was at fault of the accident. But outside of the camera, just having a GPS tracking system to see where your vehicles are going and not, I think that's more of a management of employees
I don't know the
benefit.
cost of it either. I mean, it may not be cost effective. Not sure what the cost would.
Have y'all checked on the cost?
No, sir. It was just added to the agenda
Yeah.
a week ago. I don't know. I have no information about why or what we're trying to accomplish with this. I was hoping that you guys were the ones that would
We
tell
just
me
had
what you need.
Public was asking questions again about all the vehicles and all that, and if we know where they at and stuff, so we talked about it early on when we first got in here, and so we just brought it back up, but I've got them in some 18-wheelers, and it's not really expensive to track them in cameras. I mean, you can check with your insurance policy to see, they give you a little break if you've got them both in there. So maybe you could check on that as far as having the camera in there too.
That's something you might wanna run by that special counsel, if he's aware of what's going on in other parishes that might be a benefit that we're not aware of.
Again, if y'all want to look at video cameras, then at least the staff can start working on that. We really weren't sure what you guys were hoping to accomplish.
Well, I'm just,
So if it is cameras, then we'll go get a price and we can quote that out for you guys.
we were talking about pluses and minuses, what value did it bring? And maybe,
We've done no legwork, because like I said, this was just added a week ago. The
And this
staff
was
is not aware what you
Walmart
want to
group.
accomplish with this. So if you tell us, we can go work on that.
Y'all consider this before, Sonny?
we could maybe, but not really, not that I can remember that we, pushed it at any point in time. I don't remember any accidents or anything that caused that, but, I don't know if we're ready to vote on it. We might,
Nah, just for discussion.
we can always table.
Just discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the other guys think about it too.
Yeah, for sure. And
Just one bit of information, I'll tell you, we have one lawsuit pending on a questionable liability case, on one of your employees. In my 20-plus years, your people have been very good about operating. We have not had many claims at all for vehicle accidents. So if that's considered, your loss history on vehicle crashes are minimal. So that's really, we
You're
can
gonna have
get you
some
more, we can get you more information, but I tell you what,
Unavoidable.
it's not, you really haven't been for, they do a good job. They don't crash your vehicles. Just very.
Do it.
Thanks for Tom. Say that again really loud so the public knows. We are very
No, I mean, it's a fact. I mean, they don't. I mean, I've been here almost 25 years, and we have, I know one lawsuit that's pending now, and maybe one other in 20, I mean, it just doesn't happen. They really do a good job of operating their vehicles.
So,
It's just a fact.
in the last 25 years, how many vehicles have we added? All I keep hearing is all these white vehicles running around, so.
Well, the number of vehicles,
Have we added 20 vehicles in the last 10 years, or?
that's a good question, because you have more, they do it, miles driven, and you've got more, and that, I think the lease vehicle policy's been in place for a few years now.
Yes, but we've always maintained about the same
Yeah.
amount of vehicles.
I know y'all just leasing them now, but
Right.
typically you own,
But the number of vehicles really hasn't changed much through the years.
so
The
it's,
same
you have
number
when
of
the
vehicles.
insurance rolls about the same.
Yeah, you're right. The number of vehicles being operated now are similar to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, at least. And again, we have not had many auto claims at all. But that's, again, that's a bit of information for you and the public to consider. If it's for crash purposes, it may not be a cost-efficient reason. Is all I'm saying. So.
Katie. You have him for item 9. What's that? Item 9.
about number 15, Mary?
So 15 is just cleaning up a typo error when Mr. Bryan first sent the adoption for the Kelrine Road, for the Angler Bay Road, he listed it as Kelrine Road, and it is actually Angler Bay Drive.
And
So-
just FYI, it's just cleaning up the name, but we do, the property owners have signed off on it. We're gonna get y'all's signature, or I think it's set for Katie's signature, y'all approved it, but it is signed, ready to go. This was just a publication notice and just to make sure there weren't any problems.
I
It's just,
think we talked about
it's
it.
just a correction, that's all, a name, a road change, a road correction name.
Thank you.
Ready to go.
Mr. President, we do have a contractor here to discuss agenda item 9. If you want to take questions at this moment.
Come on up, sir.
Good morning, Louis Stutes with Stutes Construction. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak one more time about item 9, liquidated damages for the construction of the OEP Pavilion. And I understand y'all are probably tired of hearing about this, but I just wanted to give a recap of information as y'all consider the voting, if that would be all right. Okay. So I wasn't able to attend last meeting, but I did watch the video, and it was my understanding that y'all were going to vote to likely recommend the assessment of liquidated damages on the contract. And my understanding is that this is because, really simply because the contract would entitle you to assess LDs from the difference of substantial completion of the project and the contractual substantial. I just want to call attention to section 8.3.1 of the contract, which describes the prerequisite for extension of time. And that states that any changes in the work by other parties other than the contractor and recommended by the architect should extend the contract time. I have with me a recommendation from the architect to extend the contract by 90 days. This was issued prior to the closal of the contract and the substantial completion. So when I came here about a month ago, or sorry, about 2 months ago now, and was stating that there was a 90-day extension that should have been added to the contract, that came as a surprise to y'all, and the facts really seemed new to y'all, but I brought along the recommendation issued on June 19th of 2024, where the architect did recommend extending the contract by 90 days. And if that would have been assessed in the contract documents, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation because we'd be 45 days ahead of the substantial completion. This change was recommended because of a meeting that took place on March 20th, where some changes were discussed between Cameron Parrish, the design team, and my superintendent, Dean Harris. At that meeting, I wasn't there, but I was told that Cameron Parrish recommended, and the architect recommended, halting the construction. And I went back and pulled the video. When I was here on February 7th, you could go back to the video, 1 hour and 13 minutes, where Mr. Clayton, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Mr. Clayton did verify that Calcasieu Parish recommended halting construction. And there were other Cameron Parish representatives there. Following that, I sent an email on April 12th.
Hang on a second. This for the record.
I'm so sorry. It's about all this is about Cameron Parish. Yeah. There were members from representatives from Cameron Parish at that meeting. I followed up with an email on April 12th, notifying the design team, that we were still stopped until we receive an ASI. There were some back and forth of documents regarding this ASI. what finally happened was we sent a change order requesting $40,000 in 90 days for the changes in the contract due to changing the foundation. We proceeded sort of just to get the contract going. We were awarded only about $3,000 of our initial request, so we did. I mean, we incurred costs that we already haven't recovered, and sort of we were just hoping for really just leniency, knowing that I felt like we were being team players. Just let's get to work and get this thing done. My goal here today is not to say that we're right or anyone else is wrong. It's just to assert that, you know, the facts of the incidents that happened during construction, to me, do dictate some amount of leniency when assessing the charging of LDs. So,
I got a question. I believe I missed that meeting when you came. I was out at that meeting, but so we'd give one extension previously, 90-day extension.
Not 90 days.
Yeah.
30 days, okay. So
We never approved the 90
He
days.
couldn't, we had to give him 30 days to keep our meetings in sync with his progress. So when we come to our next meeting, we gave him 30 days so he could appear.
Oh, are we completed?
Clayton, was it issued to the CFO?
Yes, yeah, I think Randy
Yeah.
issued it. Yeah, that's Randy's, Randy issued it.
Okay. Question?
Yeah, they're waiting the finalization.
No,
There-
it's a penalty that they're putting on the contractor for being late. It's our discretion whether we do it or not. But you did say it is substantially complete, it's done? signed off?
it was substantially complete. I don't have the date handy, but a few months ago, and then all paperwork was finalized for a formal and final completion within the last couple of weeks.
Do you think there's still some punch list items?
The punch list is complete.
Mr. President, I know that Randy did do the final inspections. I think I just received the final elevation when I was out on Friday, so I have not done the C of O yet.
Okay.
But I will get to that.
We did send the FFE last week.
Okay.
We'll take it under advisement, we'll be voting on it, I guess, at the voting meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. You Mr. Stevens, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I have a question about number 8. Since we extended, Mr. Kinn's, cleanup till next month, do we need to take number 8 off?
Do you wanna remove it, or y'all wanna make a motion stating that it's gonna be extended for 60 more days?
Yes, just make a
Yeah,
motion on
we'll
it.
just extend.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Johnny? Ronnie?
Good.
All right.
Staff, there goes staff.
You got anything? Katie, Kara, Robin, Shane?
It's just, do you wanna provide some context on the rest of the agenda items? I think, 33 and 34, you asked Mary to add on to the agenda amending the public record request policy.
Yes.
I think, do you wanna have some conversations about that now before we get to voting?
What about 32?
Mr. Tom?
Pull.
Revised statute 24. Got it, it's up here, let's see, 24, which is, notifying the legislative auditor about any potential.
So, 25:523 states, an agency head of auditee, which we're subject to audit, who has knowledge of or reasonable cause to believe that there has been a misappropriation of public funds or assets, the agency shall immediately notify in writing legislative auditor. In light of the Grand Lake Barn Road issue, Katie and I discussed this statutory requirement because as far as we know now, there's been a misappropriation of public funds. We contacted the legislative auditor, and they felt that the president of the jury should be the one to, basically y'all should approve, or you should be the one, Mr. Nunez, notifying the legislative auditor of this potential problem, not Katie as the administrator. So that's all it is y'all to approve Katie's notifying legislative auditor of the ongoing situation. I'm not sure they'll do anything because I'm handling it civilly for you. You know, state police is investigating criminally for y'all, so I'm not sure what more, but the statute said thou shalt submit it. So I think under the circumstances, we need to submit that information. And they may or may not do anything, and they may call me and ask me what's going on. I don't know, but we're obligated to notify them.
This should have been done initially,
we should have done it 3 months
so
ago.
I still know nothing about what's going on, and I didn't then. And so I just, if they do force me to sign it, it'll be without my knowing what's going on.
Well, we presented an engineer's report to you in executive session, I think, that identifies that the police jury, as far as our engineer is concerned, that we did not get, that we maybe got 2,200 instead of 7,000 yards of dirt, that you were charged for 7,000, but only got 22 is another way of saying it, which was about a $70,000 to $80,000 shortfall that we paid somebody for dirt that we didn't get. That's a misappropriation. I don't know what, I mean, now, who did it, why, those things, yeah, we don't know the answer to that, but I think that's the purpose of reporting it to the auditor, because they do their own investigation into that question. Now, under the circumstances, they may just not do an investigation, because state police, civilly, I mean, we're pursuing it, but I think the auditor wants to make sure that whatever agency may have had funds misappropriated, that they're doing something about it, and we're investigating it. And they may defer to those investigations. But I think they want to make sure that it's investigated, and if we weren't doing it, then they would do it. Is what I'm assuming. So, but we are obligated under the statute to report it. So.
And I think a complaint was made by a constituent, so we have to follow up on the complaint.
Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as
you're not doing anything but saying, hey, we've got an issue here. We don't know the exact answer, but you know, our engineer says we're missing some dirt. I mean, that's in essence what you're telling the auditor. An auditor can do with that what they will.
okay.
Okay, so we don't have to hear from the plaintiff?
No. If the auditor wants to do their own investigation, they'll go talk to the other side.
Okay.
Just like I'm gonna do tomorrow.
Yeah, so you have a meeting tomorrow?
Yes, sir. 2 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
All right. And which other one, Kate?
Oh, the public records request and policy,
Public
what
records
changes?
request, according to the Louisiana revised statute, I think it's 44-1, is it? Chapter 44-1. I haven't seen any public record requests. And so we need this is to get it where I see the public records requests, whatever we have to do for this, and also the jury. I would like to extend it to the jury and yourself.
Okay. So public records request policy needs to be amended that it is submitted to the full jury, or the president, the jury. What exactly?
I haven't seen any, according to the law, to the Louisiana revised statute.
Okay.
So Mr. Daigle asked me a question that's maybe in line with what you're talking about, Mr. Nunez, is that Mr. Daigle wanted some public records, and I said, Mr. Daigle, you have to submit a public records request. He says, well, why do I have to do that? I'm a juror. Is that basically, is that what you're asking? I mean, why?
No, sir.
Okay, then I don't.
Again, if you refer to the statute,
Well, what's policy right now if somebody asks for?
Right now, they go to our district attorney's office
So
first.
the general policy for public records is that agency gets it, because you have different boards. They send it to my office. The statute says you have to respond within 3 days. So we have a form letter. Our form letter says we recite what they're asking for. We're working on it, and here's our cost schedule. So that's the form letter that goes out, and then we start working on accumulating the documents from whatever source they need to come from, Mosquito, permitting, whoever. Then my office receives all those documents. I review them for confidentiality, other things, whatever may not be public record, and then we let the requesting party know that we have the documents are ready. The cost is $10, $20, whatever it may be for the copy cost, and then they provide a money order, they pay us, and we produce the documents. That's the general policy. What Mr. Daigle asked me within the last month is he's asking for records. For instance, what he was asking for, he was the one of several was the most recent that I'm aware of is he was asking about the lighthouse bend, the boat launch. You took a picture, the tide was out, north wind, all those conditions, and you couldn't launch a boat. And he wanted to know, who approved this, who's the engineer, historical documents from probably 10 years ago. And I said, well, that's a public records request. And he said, well, I'm a juror, I shouldn't have to. I said, no, there's no exception in the statute for a juror, a board member, whatnot. That's my interpretation of the statute. I asked, our DA's Association has an expert. I asked him about 2 weeks ago. He agreed with my position, is there's no exception. Now, every meeting you get documents, every board member that has a board, if there's an action item, they have documents, so that you receive the documents that you're taking action on and you have information. We're talking about if you want historical documents, you're no different than the public. If you want historical documents, then you have to make a public records request. If y'all disagree with that position, I know I have asked Chelsea to research it to confirm my thoughts and the experts' thought. And if we can't find it, get the AG to give us an opinion on that, to confirm that. But that's particularly to Mr. Daigle's request and what's been happening with Mr. Daigle and some other board members in the parish. But so getting back to you, Mr. Nunez, I didn't understand your particular.
So this has nothing to do with
Okay.
Mr. Daigle.
No.
This is, like I say, according to the statute. And I haven't seen any public records requests. I'm fine with them going to you to look at as our attorney. But I want to know when one is there.
You want to be aware when you get one?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay, so
And according to law,
yeah, so
I should see them.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll add to our policy that when Katie or whoever gets it, and if it comes from someone other than the police jury, let's say, the rec board, the mosquito, whoever, if we get it, then I'll tell my people to include you in the emails. Because we generally will write back to that board or to the police jury staff saying, hey, okay, we need the documents, and we'll just copy you so you'll see what we're working on.
So do I need to amend the?
Just a resolution adding it to the policy, public records policy.
And that's for the president or for every juror?
Well, hang on, I'd like to say something on that. Well, the policy right now protects the confidentiality of somebody requesting these public records.
No, the person requesting is not confidential. So for instance, annually we get a request, or you get a request for personnel information about your employees. Well, there's certain things, your personnel's addresses, their social security numbers, date of birth. There's certain things that are not public record. Their salaries, that's public record, or their pay rate is public record. So we provide that pay scale of those salaries, but we redact a lot of personal information. So that's by way of example. So the statutes provide that certain things, statute says everything's public record except, and then there's exceptions, and that example is personnel or employee information is not, public record, so we redact things. There's also, with the port, there's certain things when the port is negotiating with private entities, there's some confidentiality nature to the port. I think the hospital has some special confidentiality exceptions to the public record. So if those agencies get a request, they send it to me. I say, hey, send me all the documents so we get everything. And then I go through page by page and maybe redact whatever I think is not, quote, public record or falls within one of the exceptions of the public record.
Just making sure.
And this is only the request, so it's only.
I think, Mr. Nez, is with the policy, well, we'd amend the policy to add, say, basically, when we receive a public records request, we will notify the president of the police jury, whomever that may be, and
Unless the rest of the jury wants to be
or if y'all want to all be part of that.
notified.
No, the president, I think he's the custodian of records, right?
Oh, that, I don't know. So that's another, so we'll notify the president. If you think it's sufficient enough that he needs to let y'all know, it'll be his decision to let you know that, hey, somebody's asking about this. That's up, I mean, historically, we haven't notified you. It's more of a.
Has the DA always had these records? I mean, public record requests? Or?
Well, since I've been the DA, it started with the port. Yeah, so what happened was the port, when Claire Hebert was the port director, they've got some requests, and it was stacks of documents we had to go through. It had to do with the lease with Venture Global. We leased the property, and so and I was going through years of emails and documentation to verify what was public and not public. And so that's where it got started, is, okay, the attorney needs to be involved. So I said, look, just send me, as soon as whoever receives the request, send it to us. We'll send out that form letter. So we've statutorily complied with our 3-day notice. And then we start working on it. And when I say we, I don't have the records. You know, they're coming from whatever agency or department. They provide the records to me for review. So I'm just part of the, whether you put me in the middle of it pursuant to this policy, which was what I suggested years ago, or whether by matter of practice, eventually that board or agency department's gonna have to come to me to review those documents before we produce them. It's just we found it easier for me to be involved in the beginning.
No, it's a great idea for you reviewing them, you and your staff.
Yep.
It's
And
just
we'll just
the
include
one
the
part that
president.
failed in this.
Yeah, we'll include you or the president in that notification, so you'll be aware of what we're being asked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what about the custodian of record?
Yeah.
Is the police jury, the president, the custodian of the records?
Typically, your clerk of court is your official custodian of records for all parish documents.
Okay.
Yeah, so just by way of practice, most all contracts, right, not just right-of-ways or anything dealing with real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Most all of your contracts, even if it's a contract for a public building or something, we record that at the courthouse, because years from now,
They're your official custodian of
we
records.
may not be around, and somebody, another juror in the future may say, hey, where's that contract between, the jury and Venture Global? Well, it got recorded, so you can go find it at the courthouse.
So if they're the custodian, what's number 34?
I don't know, that's why I was asking y'all.
I will
Y'all
tell
put it
you
on the agenda.
another way, by way of background, the Secretary of State, some years ago, there was a statute that says every department.
Right now it's Tom.
No, I'm not.
Susan's still your clerk of court is your custodian of record.
I don't keep records. I just
Tom
gather.
just responds.
I just respond to the public records request. The statute says every agency is supposed to have a custodian.
Their own custodian.
Yeah, and it's up to you to designate who that is, and historically, you've referred to the clerk of court as your custodian of records, because we record your
I think
important
that was part of the question too.
Yeah.
Who do we send them to?
So
We haven't done that. I haven't done that as the president.
No, you don't. No, no president before you's ever done that. So what happens is, if someone requests, so for instance, your contract for
A typical standard request, public records request that we get all the time is anytime we do a request for proposals for a contract, all of the people that did not win the bid call and ask for all the proposals so they could see. That's typical.
Yeah, and those proposals, not everything's recorded at the courthouse. If something's at the courthouse, my response to the person requesting was, that's a public record, go get it from the clerk of court. Your important documents. Now, the request for proposals or the bid, or if even if it's a closed sealed bid, you get multiple bids. Mary has all that. So whoever doesn't get awarded the contract to build whatever may want to see all of it. And they'll send a request to Katie or Mary, or maybe addressed to you, and you don't ever even see it, but Mary sends it to me. I send my 3-day notice. Hey, Mary, get me the documents. She builds a package and sends it to me. And then we call whoever's requesting, say, hey, we need $50 for the copies, and we produce it. And Mr. Nunez, y'all will never know. That's just day-to-day operations. But we will now include you every time that a request is made. And that 3-day letter response, you'll get it. So you'll see we're responding to this request. The actual production comes at some date later, but you'll know it's happening. Or the future presidents will know it's happening. Yep.
And so Mary is custodian record for police jury documents, but the secretary for the Grand Lake Rec Board is going to be their custodian for their documents, but the official custodian records for all parish documents is your clerk of court.
Clerk of court, sure. And I was only referring to the police jury record.
Yeah, I would just.
Make sure we understand that.
Several years ago, it used to go to the secretary of the police jury, records request.
I don't know, so some boards, there wasn't a policy. That was when I became DA, there really wasn't a policy and I suggested that all of your boards, including the police jury, should just send me the request so that we make sure that it gets done right. Again, I don't have the records that are being requested, so Mary may get a request for records regarding the Creole Rec Board. Well, she doesn't have the Creole Rec Board records, but she sends it to me. I respond to the requesting party with a 3-day notice. Then Mary and I will coordinate. We'll send it to the secretary for the Rec Board of Creole, and they'll start working on the documents. And then Mary's kind of out of it, and then I work with that Rec Board to get those documents and then produce them according to the requirements. So so the request comes from out of the blue. Sometimes the request will come directly to me because maybe somebody's aware of our policy, so they'll send me an email. Well, again, I don't have the records, so I'll send an email to Mary saying, hey, they're asking for all the bids on that project last month. She'll gather the documents, produce it to me, and then we send it on. That's just the cycle. I mean, it's not. Now, y'all don't know that that's happening. It probably happens not weekly, but it happens monthly. 1 or 2 times a month, and we take care of business. But I can understand the president wanting to know what's there. Now, most of the time, the president will get these notices and go, okay, that's no big deal. But once in a while, there may be something that he sees a request for that he wants to let y'all know, or he may want to ask what's going on. Why is this person making the request? And it's good policy for him to know. Most of the time, it will be insignificant, but on occasions it may be important to him or to y'all to know that.
Yes.
So we'll add it to the policy.
And there can be other parishes have a certain email set up because you're supposed to display it on your website. Other parishes have a certain email set up where your public records requests go to the DA, the secretary, the administrator, the parish rep. If y'all wanna consider that, whatever y'all want, to make sure it gets wherever y'all want it to go.
Yeah. The system's working well. The only thing is we will now include the president, so the president will now see what records are being requested by whom, because you'll see who's requesting it and what they're requesting.
I think it works great going to you and your staff,
Yeah, and again, my staff and I just coordinated. We don't have the records, but we'll include the president on that notice. Good enough? All right.
So do we need item 34, or are we good with just the change in the policy?
Yeah, it'd be amending the policy, I guess, or changing the policy, adding to the policy.
Correct.
Do we need to do an add-on, or can we do it through that point up there?
No, I think with the motion, I think they're clear, amend the motion to say that the president is notified of all public records requests. And so his office,
I'll
which
tell
is
you,
Julie.
I always think of things that I'm not gonna be around forever. You have a public records policy that says, upon receipt of the records, public agency or board shall immediately forward the request via email to the district attorney's office in order, blah, 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 blah. I would just suggest you amend that policy to say, immediately forwarded the request, the email to the district attorney and the president of the police jury. So right off the bat, you and I
Both
get it right immediately, and we'll work on it. You don't have, the president doesn't have to do anything. We'll do all the work. Your staff will do it. Just you're notified immediately. When I'm notified, you're notified. So just make that, I would make that amendment to your policy, because again, we're not gonna be here forever, so.
Thank you, that's all I was asking, just to be able to see,
So are we removing
so
34?
we know what's going on. No, leave it like that, and we'll just, we'll add to it or amend it.
34?
30, I'm sorry. 33.
Okay,
33, sorry. You're gonna remove 34.
remove 34, let me go.
Just for clarification, custodian is the secretary?
Yes, for police jury documents.
So the revised statute states,
Or the revised statute.
custodian means public official or head of any public body having custody or control of public record or representative specifically authorized by him to respond to requests to inspect any such public record. That's the revised statute he's referring to.
So by the DA and him at the same time is covered.
You what, I'm sorry?
But with a public record, but Mr. Barrett and him at the same time getting the,
Correct.
okay.
All right, any other questions? Hey, what about this, generator? We have anything on that?
It's on the agenda to go out for bid, to the
Oh.
auction.
For auction.
For auction.
Shane,
28.
Yes, sir.
talk about that public auction.
Yes, sir. So, Gwen auction is 8% if we bring to them, and Peterson is 7%.
It's,
Wherever y'all wanna
it's
bring
their
it.
charge, is that their cut or what have you?
Yes, sir. When you sell, you gotta give them 7 or 8%.
Wait a minute, they charge me 7%? If I buy it, they charge me 10%?
Well, you're different.
Probably charge more.
No, I'm just saying, I go to those auctions, I mean, if they charge me 10%.
I got it in writing.
Geez.
So, right now, I mean, I guess them rates probably changed some, but
We have been using Gwen we were using Peterson, then we went to Gwen. Gwen's in Jennings and Peterson's right here in Lake Charles. It's a lot closer to go to Lake Charles, but I mean, hey, that's y'all, whatever y'all wanna do. Cause if we haul a piece of equipment, that's 2 guys, going over there, unloading, getting back, you're looking at a few hours going to Jennings. Right here in Lake Charles, you're looking at less time, but
we want whatever saves us the most money.
you got 7% and 8%. Lake Charles is closer.
Okay.
Did we leave Peterson for trouble, or?
I don't know why we left Peterson. That was before my time.
Okay. Any idea, Katie?
They were offering a better rate.
Okay.
And they do auctions year round, and they do online auctions. And so we tried them one time. I think Daryl was the one that initiated it, and our return on the sales were quadruple of what we were getting at the CalCam auctions host. And so we continued to use Gwen till now.
So, well, I mean, shouldn't we go to whoever gives us the best deal anytime?
I would think 1% ain't much, but if you sell a lot of equipment, I mean,
And then just being
And then
closer,
saving on fuel and manpower going right here, but.
if the rate's better, you know.
Whatever y'all wanna do.
I mean, can we rotate? I mean, do we have to go to just one?
He can get numbers and decide based off
Go
of
to the cheapest one.
the quotes every time if he wants to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else, Joe? Sonny, I know you got another question. Make the motion.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Sonny, second by Mr. Danny.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. It was, 15 minutes. We'll be back.